When we grow up, we want to get there, right? Okay, so just to start our conversation, I think the intros probably tell a lot about your career. So for me, what's most interesting, and then I'll start from your end, hey?
Yeah.
Is to ask, what are the main decisions that you think in your trajectory to you being here were important for you, that you think maybe a couple that were important for you to sit where you sit now? Just for context of the rest of the room.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. As they introduced me, okay, cool. So I think the biggest thing is it goes back to 2014 for me right now. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Hello.
It's a mic for the camera.
Oh, it's for the camera. Oh my God, I'm very used to this. Okay, cool. Yeah. So I think one thing is okay. Why I studied engineering, right? I'm no longer an engineer, or I no longer do engineering. Number one, right? So the number one thing is that I studied engineering because of conviction, right? I wanted to be close to my father, and I wanted to, like, I had a desire to be close to my father growing up, right? My father was a car mechanic. I thought if I go to university, study mechanical engineering, I'll help him to grow the family business. Okay, cool. That didn't happen, right? And then fast forward, I went on and studied engineering, and then while I was still studying engineering, I got a bursary from ESCOM, and then once I was in the ESCOM bursary, I then I proposed, like, what is this, what happens in the world of engineering and stuff like that, how does it look like? And then I took an initiative, went to the HOD. I was like, hey, I have a bursary from ESCOM, can you please write a letter for me to go and do vacation work? And then it was an initiative at UJ. Vacation work is not required, but I took that initiative that I want to know. I was intrigued, and then I got the vacation work, fortunately enough, and they were paying a lot of money. So that was that was the nice part, guys. Like, yeah. And then in the vacation work, when I was still at ESCOM, one of the biggest things that made me to want to pivot to data and AI, it was that I was in the power station. It was the time 2017 had load shedding and all those kind of stuff. And one thing I realized that while I was there is that you have these big systems, right? This big system. You know, like when you draw like these things on a paper, it's so small, but we had big systems. And then I was like, things could just break. We don't know what's gonna break. And then I was curious there. I was like, why didn't we know in advance that this thing is gonna break? Then we can start the procurement process. So the reason why I started, I was like, if we could start the procurement process early, we can say, okay, this part is gonna break in 5 months' time. And then we can then start doing the procurement process, prepare that part before that thing breaks, so that when it breaks, we replace it fast. Then we then have less load shedding. So the reason why I started data is because of load shedding. I wanted to end load shedding, but yeah, the rest is history.
Thank you for helping the whole of South Africa. I think we're all very thankful. So I'm gonna just go around the room with the same question, because I think it's quite important for us to share that story. I think for me, what I've found, what I've learned is actually there was a moment that I can specifically remember that I made the decision and said, okay, now I'm going to take the path and be an engineer, and I actually drew the line there. So for me, I think it's always interesting to understand that moment for other people and what that looked like. And I think it would be interesting for the room to say, what did that look like for you? So maybe if we can all just share 1 minute with that question.
Okay, so for me, at first I didn't make the choice to be an engineer. My dad was an engineer, and he decided, I'm making another engineer. So he used to take me to his sites. He was an irrigation engineer. He used to take me to the dams. He used to take me to the irrigation scheme. Like, my father taught me about palms when I was small, guys. And he later started his own consulting firm. And the plan was to join Dad. But unfortunately passed away when I was in my first year. And he had his consulting firm, but I couldn't take over because I was still a first-year engineer. So then things changed. I did vacation work for the company, but it didn't survive till I graduated. So when I hit graduation, the company was gone. And now the question was, who is Chikondi without Daddy's direction? That was I had no idea, because the plan my whole life was, work for Daddy, take over Daddy's company. Easy. I even did when I was applying for university. Option 1, ag engineer, PMB. Option 2, ag engineering, Howard College. Right? That was it, because it was Daddy. That was the plan. So when this happens to me, I then am confused about what to do, right? And now I'm just saying yes to any opportunity that comes. However, what happened was I was that kid in classroom, in the lecture venues, who used to ask the lecturers, why? 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 So every lecturer knew me by name. But the reason I asked why, because I hated studying, right? So for me, I wanted to leave each lecture knowing exactly what this person was talking about so that I don't have to refresh my memory later. But what it did was it made me visible to everyone who's an academic in the faculty. So when a company came looking for a BEE candidate to fulfill their plans for succession, they come and they're like, we're looking for a young black woman. Please, can you give us one? And then the faculty says, we don't have any that fit your criteria. There were no young black South African women at the time. There was me, but I was Swazi, right? So they say to them, there's no South African, there's a Swazi, but try her out for VAC work. Fortunately for me, that was just like, that's all I needed. I was like, just give me a little corner somewhere, I'll do the work. And it was hard. I was in an Afrikaans company and everything was in Afrikaans. But I decided in that moment, you guys are going to need me. That VAC work period, I worked so hard. I learned things I wasn't even supposed to learn at that level. But by the end of the VAC work, the guy said, when you are ready, when you graduated, come. I didn't interview. My first time having a job interview was this job. Every single job I ever had after that was someone who said, Chikondi, can you come and help us work here? Because they'd heard, everyone had heard that when this woman starts something, she puts her all. So for me, it wasn't a choice, but when I realized the reality, I said, what's available to me? And let me just put my head down and just try hard wherever I am. Yeah.
It does work. Paid off. Paid off. Yeah, maybe you can tell us your own story and your.
Yeah, no. So you guys know that engineers are called frustrated creatives. Do you know that? Do you know that? Because you are creative. And the reason I say that is because I'm not an engineer, but I worked in mining for a very long time. And I think for me, when we're talking about defining moments, there's been lots in my career and in my growing as a person and my development. And the first one was that when I was working for De Beers, I was in South Africa doing reputation management. And I was asked to go to the UK to work with our marketing division on diamond beneficiation, something I knew 1% about. But I told myself that I'm going to go there and apply myself. And I did. So the first thing for me is that take opportunities. Don't look down on yourself to say, I do not have those capabilities, and therefore, I took that leap of faith, and that was one of the biggest changes in my career, because I went and worked with De Beers in the United Kingdom within, their sales and marketing division, and I started working quite closely with South Africa and Botswana. As you know, Botswana is one of, De Beers' core countries, and South Africa and Namibia. When I came back to South Africa after 4 years, the company said to me, well, you know a bit about diamond marketing and how to sell diamonds. We want to start a cutting and polishing academy in Kimberley. You guys know how in mining, diamond beneficiation and beneficiation in generally is such a big issue. And I said, yeah, I'll do it. And it's the same principle, because establishing an academy is not a simple thing. It has to do with project management. It has to do with understanding diamonds, because when you're starting to cut and polish and sell, you need to understand what that is about. You need to understand about curriculum development. I was not in education by any means. You need to understand the processes of accreditation. You need to understand the regulation. And I said, yeah, I'll do it. And I did it. And that academy is up and running still in Kimberley, even today. And it's operational, and I'm very proud of it. And there's quite a number of people who came out of that program who are now young and having cutting and polishing facilities in South Africa. So for me, it has been about a few things. First of all, be good at what you do. Be good at what you do. When you are an engineer in your field, make sure that you apply yourself to your trade. You really understand. The second thing is be open to learning new things. Be open to learning new things. And that also goes to opening yourself to the world with regards to being involved in other things. I always tell people that, these days it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. That is so critical, because that's the third point. Guys, you need to network. You need to be there, getting mentors. You need to mentor people also yourself. Know who is out there in the industry and really make sure that you get close to those people. Because, I like what you said. Because, sometimes in the world, when you want to get a job, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. When people know that this particular person is good at what they do, you don't even have to go through presentations and interviews. You are known. So for me, those are the critical things I just want you guys to keep in mind as you grow, as because they've worked for me. And as has said, there also has been testament here that, that those things are quite important in terms of your development and growth within your career. And last but not least is that, when I came to Josie Majosi, I had just left De Beers. And I told myself that, after 25 years of a career, I'm going to play a little golf, and I'm going to give my time back to society. And Josie Majosi was doing great work in the inner city. We are working with the city of Johannesburg and the province and the presidency to fix up the city. It's a mammoth task, it's huge. But I said to myself, let me go there and give them 3 days of my time. And I said to them, you don't have to pay me. And a year later, I'm the CEO.
Wow. Thank you. That was amazing. So just before we start, I think there's 2 points that I've picked up from, there's a thread that I'm hearing, and maybe as you speak through your defining moments in your career, you could also extend to this point of saying, what I'm picking up is reputation matters. So I think reputation is driven by you being good, and you have to take the time to actually be good. But your reputation kind of is your CV without you being there in the room, right? So maybe you could also speak to that point and say, how has that also helped you in your career?
All right. So everyone's story of how they became engineers is different. Who of you thought they would be getting a lot of money when they register as engineers? Anyone who's looking forward to the money? So I enrolled in engineering because I said, I want money. But I think my passion was problem solving. And just looking at my career and some of the defining moments, first of all, I did get a bursary with Group 5. And after I graduated, they're like, we don't have a job for you. But there was a subsidiary that was under Group 5 that said, no, we'll give you an opportunity. They saw that I was eager and I kept on pressing, and they gave me an opportunity. And literally it started with that. I was at that organization. And I think for me, the defining moments was just taking a bold step to go into the direction that I wanted. So I was at a certain company for a few years and I said, no, I'm tired of it. I'm going to site. And I left and I went to work on a construction site. And then when that didn't work out, I ended up being unemployed. And I said, okay, well, I can't sit and do nothing. So some of the defining moments was that in that time when I was looking for an employment opportunity, I decided to help out a friend of mine in their marketing company. And I said, well, at least I'll learn how to speak a bit more and put myself out there and learn about brand visibility. So that's what we started doing. We were doing podcasts, doing pictures, talking to clients. And, everyone was like, what are you doing there? I'm like, no, I'm just waiting for my job. It's not a problem. And all of that really helped sculpt who I am today. So what that did is it opened up the doors for where I can volunteer and actually speak for myself. So I started volunteering for SAICI, and SAICI is the South African Institution of Civil Engineering. And I started just approaching them and saying, look, I can speak for myself. Can I assist you in a specific committee? And it started with the ethics committee, and then it went into, they'll do little competitions and say, send a video, let's hear your story. And I just sent videos. And I just started putting myself out there and building a reputation for myself through my volunteerism. And that did help me get an opportunity. And ever since then, I've just been going into 100 more committees and getting multiple recognitions for my efforts. So those have been defining moments for me in my career, because even through what I was doing as just a SAICI member, that did reflect into my work. Because at work, they're like, hey, but everyone is saying this person's winning awards. Okay, all right, let's see your work ethic. So even with my work ethic, I was pushing very hard. To a point where I eventually was asked to serve on a committee where it was only professionals and chiefs that are serving on that approval committee. And they said, we know you are still in the process of registering. We know that you're still young, but please come and join our committee. So that's where your reputation really stands before you. It's what he has also touched on to say, if you do your work well, they will see you. They will recognize your efforts as well. And really that is what makes you, and that's what makes you stand out as well. And I think over and above that, another defining moment for me is the Dream STEM initiatives that I'm a part of. Those I really hold close to my heart. So we host STEM empowerment engagements where we go out into the high schools and encourage them to take up engineering and maths and be aeronautical scientists and so on and so forth. And the bold step that I took, and I think that's what defined my contribution back to the community, is when I wanted to do a Dream STEM camp. And I approached different organizations and they said, no, we're not coming to KZN. Nah, it's too far. And I said, okay, I'm just going to use the network I have. So literally using my reputation and my brand, went out to speak to multiple NPOs and organizations. And they literally would resonate with my dream and looking at the fact that we'll be making a big difference in the communities. And they funded the first Dream Camp. And I think that was about, 150,000 Rand. So imagine just from talking about your passion, your reputation, and just applying yourself, you've got an event that's running. And we told ourselves we're not stopping there. We'll continue going on. And we're now in the third year. Wow. So I'm looking forward to it.
Wow. Well done. Well, these stories for me are so interesting, because what I almost wanted to do is, when we do the introduction, it says where you are, what you've achieved. But for me, it's like we have literally the room is full of the next generation of leaders, and these guys drive the chapters from each university. We have about 9 universities represented here. So I thought what would resonate with them is for them to understand how did you get where you are. And some of the more important question for me, with the context of where they've been, is what defines a leader for you? So what would you say leadership is? And there's probably 2 aspects to that. You can look at it from running either an entity or an organization, in their aspect, a chapter, or running your own life, like leading your life and saying, I want to make the decision. And that's one. And then the second aspect to that is, how do you still maintain your passion through your career? And I maybe will ask that question to go back. We can start from you.
For myself, okay. All right. What does it mean to be a leader? For me, it's 2 things. You need to be willing to learn. As a leader, you cannot possibly know everything. And I mean, being willing to learn is attending leadership courses, learning from your elders, learning from those that are speaking in front of you, and just taking note. Even when you're doing well, learn from your team. So you'll be a leader in a specific chapter. Some of your team members do have amazing recommendations and suggestions. Learn from that as well. It's very important, because we tend to grow and feel as though we've got a lot of information and, oh, I know this, I know how to do it, it's fine, you don't need to tell me what to do. But that's where now you get challenged as a leader, because when you're leading with information. and that information needs to be learned one way or another. So I think that's the biggest thing. But the second thing for me is to be committed to the leadership journey. Being committed is tied with discipline as well. And the reason why I'm saying committed is I've hosted multiple events, and we get to July and we're like, we're tired. We don't want to do anything anymore. And as a leader, you need to stay committed to the cause and say, no, let's keep on going. You'll be hosting events without any sponsors, and you're just crossing fingers to say, I'm looking forward to a sponsor. You are the leader that is supposed to bring the motivation. You need to be committed to the cause so that everyone can still maintain that they've got a pillar of strength in you to continue and continue moving forward. And then the second point of how do you then continue and maintain your leadershipness. I always say that it's always best for everyone to be in a room where you are the youngest, you're probably not the brightest, and you probably don't know everything in that room. It's very challenging because you don't know what to say. You're just there with your qualification, and people are talking about their 100 years of experience. But that's where you learn. And putting yourself in those situations more often than not allows you to really open your mind to who's out there, what are they doing? Oh, this is what's happening in the industry. How do I grow from that? And really, just challenging yourself is amazing. Our brain is meant to work, I think, at about 60%, and apparently we only use 30. So allow yourself to be challenged and continue just being in those spaces, even if you feel that you don't belong. Yeah.
So many years ago, in mining, there's quite a lot of community issues, and I needed to really get into the communities and engage, and for us, we struggled with that relationship. We struggled. We couldn't get in. We couldn't speak to anybody, and it was quite a big issue. And because at that time I was staying in Mosina. And over the weekend, we were just sitting there and talking. And I started telling the guys about, this challenge that we're facing from a community perspective. And one of the guys said, actually, there's a guy actually who works in one of your workshops. He's one of the ndunas in that village. Okay. So I spent the next 2 weeks looking for this guy because at mines, the problem is that we work shifts, so sometimes it's very difficult to get people. But finally, I got that person. And that person was working in the engineering workshop, and he was a very modest guy. But as soon as I started having conversation with him about that particular community and him being one of the leaders, he just sparked. So the lesson for me is that leadership is not about position. I mean, this guy at the mine, he is, what is it? There's an artisan and then there's an operator. He was an operator at the mine. So from a company perspective, he was just one of 1,000 employees. But in his community, he was very, very influential. He was passionate about community issues. And because now for the first time we reached out and we had a conversation with him about the community, and actually started to try and work with him to be able to do the project we wanted to do that. We succeeded. So when you work and whatever you do, don't undermine people. Don't undermine people. And leaders, as I said, is not about position. The second thing is that, and this has been a struggle for a lot of people. There's a difference between a manager and a leader. A manager is a person who sits there, gives you your KPIs and tells you that you must deliver this by Friday. And I'm going to monitor your performance. And if you don't perform, I'm going to take you to disciplinary committee. A leader inspires people. You inspire people. And one of the hardest things you learn as a leader is that you delegate. Because managers, actually, what they do is that if people don't perform, they want to come in and do the work themselves because you are not doing the work. But the leader would come in there and ask you why you're struggling and actually show you in terms of how to solve the problem so that you can do the work and then you can actually succeed. That's what leadership is about. So always remember that there's a distinction between a leader and a manager. If you want to be a manager, it's fine. You can only focus on those key performance areas, as we say. But when you become a leader, you start working through people. You inspire them. You understand them. Understand the people you're working with. Understand them personally and know what makes them tick. And you support them.
Thank you. That's very insightful.
Yeah, our definition actually aligns very much. So for me, I believe as a leader, you must see people for who they really are. You need to look at a person and see more than what they're saying, because many times people actually may not know themselves, right? And you as a leader is to understand, who am I dealing with? Can I see this person? Can I see their strengths and their weaknesses? And then after you choose to see them and engage them, pull them up. That's the difference. You don't, because you can see so-and-so and say, okay, I see this person. They're gifted at this if they just pushed themselves. And they struggle with this. But then you can leave it at that, just FYI. But a leader says, okay, now I'm going to stretch you. Now I'm going to look at, okay, you struggle here. Let me just, and show you it's actually not so hard. Or you're good at this. Let me give you the platform. So I feel a leader chooses to see whoever is around them and chooses to raise whoever is around them at that time. And you're a great leader if when you leave, people can still say, hey, that day, that moment, that time, this person, they've changed my trajectory. And I feel you are a great leader if, even if you don't realize it, you have changed trajectories. Some of the people who I remember the most are people who did something simple, but you literally can change the trajectory of a person by just seeing them. And making an effort to just connect with where they are, who they are, what are they capable of. And how do you, you mentioned, what was the second one about how do you live out your passion in your role? I think it's always great to know what you want and what do you stand for and what are you passionate about. I think from the beginning, I was always clear. I want to raise the next generation of leaders. I don't know how, I don't know why. Whenever I got an opportunity to be in front of people, I'm just like, yes, guys, let's do it, whatever it is. And for me, it was different things. It was at school. Okay, actually, first at home, I was like, let's do the naughty things to my siblings. I'm not going to lie. I was that kid that my parents would be like, oh, Lord, what has she done tonight? I used to like spear my siblings on, like, guys, let's do it. It's going to be fun. Let's do it. But then it translated to later, when I'm at varsity, I'm like, guys, we can't let the lecturers, let's try, guys, let's just try. Just because I wanted to reduce my load. But then later on, it evolved to, I want to touch people. Then I start the volunteering thing that Takalani does. And I was volunteering at SAI at the time. And I'm like, how? These platforms have no young people. I'm going to get in there, and then the young people are going to get in there. I don't know. I've always had that thing in me. So when you know the thing that you love, and you find any place to keep doing it, I then end up finding a job where I get to touch young people. I'm like, I literally was looking back, I'm like, I'm living the thing I really hoped for. I always wished to have a chance to connect with young people, and I didn't know how and how it will end up happening. But here it is. So when you're clear about what it is that you love the most and you kind of squeeze it into every corner of your life, it eventually finds you. Yeah.
Thank you. And Rufiwa, just for a bit more context, there's a point about opportunity versus passion or a dream. So for me, like in your answer, how have you grappled with that? Because sometimes you have a dream and say, I want to be a CEO of this company, but opportunities are different that come in your life. And how do you measure that and say, and where do you put yourself? Do you think you're still successful because of the opportunities? How do you grapple with that?
Can I start with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's start with that, because before I forget, I'll define the leaders after. So I'll just tell a story from my own experience, right? 2022, I'm finishing my honors, finishing my final year project and stuff. So what I did, I was like, okay, I want to start teaching, right? I'm passionate about teaching, so I run a company, actually a multi-million rand company that's all about teaching. I'll tell you a bit about that. So I wanted to teach. I remember one day, so this is like quite an emotional day for me. I traveled back from Limpopo to Joburg. I'm at the Richmond Life, if you know the Richmond in Joburg. I get there, I didn't have money, I didn't have anything, and I had committed to a school in Langlaagte.
Yeah.
I didn't have money for Uber. It was raining that day, and I had committed that I'm coming to teach. I remember walking to Langlaagte from Auckland Park. I don't know how many kilometers, maybe around about 7, and I walked to Langlaagte, and then I wanted to just, just teach. I walked through the rain all the way. I had my phone. It was raining. I was like, if this phone dies, like let it die. But I don't know the place. I will open Google Maps, and then I just walked. Fast forward, I got to the school. Didn't complain to anyone. Didn't tell the teachers there, it was raining, I can't come. I didn't say any of that. I went there because I had committed that I'll come and teach. And I got in the class. I rocked the class. Of course, I'm a funny guy. So I rocked the class. I teach the student maths, encourage them. And some of them, they were struggling with the maths, right? I always say positive words. That's something about leadership as well. I always say positive words. You can do this. Well done. You're on the right track. I always say positive words, even to the students that don't believe they can do those things. And that's one part of the leadership there. But another part of in the leadership, you don't have to say your struggles. You don't have to make people feel bad. You don't have to make excuses. Sometimes you have to walk the hard road to get there, right? I remember there was only 6 students in that class when I first walked to that place, right? I didn't know what's going to happen. Fast forward that was the first investment. That was my commitment at that time, right? And fast forward 2020, we're in 2026 now, right? Right now, and that class, when I remember when walking to that school, when I got there, I think there was only 6 kids, right? I taught them with passion, didn't care about the rain. After the class, I walked back, And I remember at the end of the month, the payment even came late. I didn't worry much about that. I didn't complain for any of that. But the biggest part of this, right, is for me that passion, that drive, that I just want to be in class teaching, right? Fast forward, now I lectured UJ. Yeah? I just told them about what I do. I showed them the result of the student that they've been achieving from my passion of teaching, right? So that was passion and that was opportunity. When the opportunity at UJ for me to even lecture, there's a lecturer that teaches that module, but I'm just a part-time guy that helps the student on weekends, and I work from home. I don't have to go to campus. I teach them online, right? But I think the passion was that if you are passionate about something, just give it your all. If you die, if I die, I die. If that rain was gonna kill me, let me kill me going through that passion. That's my thinking. I'm so determined. Yeah. And then fast forward, let me just tell you more onto that teaching part. I got a job at UJ. Just re-signed a new contract just last week, and then of course it has been growing. And then fast forward to that, I also run my own company, Brightland. They also mentioned, and of course, when I was teaching, started with 6 students. Right now, I have 3,000 students all over the world, and it's an online platform now. And yeah, it's a multi-million rand business. Right, this year we're aiming to make R1 billion. We wanna, yeah. So yeah, so that's how. Yeah, so that's one business that we've kind of like deployed, and it's quite big. So it goes to the leadership, right? Yeah, it's go to the leadership. We wanna also deploy it just for context, when I deployed in Zim, we already got calls deploying a platform. So I built a learning management system through this business. Of course, that is by me teaching, but certain passion leads up to more opportunities. Yeah. If you follow your passion, it's not just going to end as a passion. It will open up opportunities, things that you didn't think you can do, right? And cool. So on leadership, I think on leadership from my side, it's number one, in a business context, right? Number one principle that I go by, leaders eat last, So yeah, we're making R1 billion rand. Like we're planning to do that, right? So I grow the business I think I grow the business from now it's like it's make over $1 million a month, right? With a team of 10 people, so about 1.5 million and all those kind of stuff. So in that case, right, you're leading a team of 10 people in different fields. It's the biggest thing for me is that these people that I'm leading, they have most of the answers that I don't know, right? Yeah. So I let them, if we're in a meeting, I let them speak, I let them dish out what they think we can do. As a leader, I then collate all those things that I'm seeing from them. I have the vision and say, okay, cool. Yeah, I agree with you, And you need to talk to people in a nice way, You need to be nice. Don't be rude to just be seen as a leader. I think it's just being nice, being kind, and being attentive, right? Being able to listen to people, to be able to make decisions, like as a leader, you share your ideas and then you let the people make it bigger, It's called co-creativity. And then another thing, I think I said that leaders eat last. What does that mean in the context of business? The guys need to get paid first. Like if the business is gonna collapse, I'm gonna take I'm ready to take the punch for everything, right? So it lasts. Make sure that the guys that you work with, they're well paid. You take care of them. That's in terms of the leadership, in terms of like the money context. And then another thing is that leaders are readers, right? So you have to spend a lot of time reading. I just believe in that. I have to study the latest technology in the world of AI, agency, like all the stuff that we do. I have to study a lot. And then, of course, you need to read, right? So you need to read the people. We have 3,000 students. You can imagine how many messages that are on my phone. I have to switch it off even now. So I have to read and understand each and every customer, right? I interact with customers on a day-to-day. One thing about leaders, you need to be passionate about, from a business perspective, you need to be passionate about listening to customers. You need to be passionate about solving problems or coming up with solutions, not the ideas that you think are best, but coming up with ideas that you think is going to solve the problems that your customers come with. Or maybe in my context is students, right? So I always right now we're deploying an app. We're supposed to launch an app. So the one thing that I had to do is I had to deploy the app, make it available so that my students, all the people that are joining, review the app. Any changes that I make, it's not my ideas. It's what they say, you understand? So you, as a leader, you speak last. Before you eat, you eat last, you speak last, you take the decisions based on what people say to you. So yeah, that's my maybe a bit I can share, yeah.
Thank you. I think I'm gonna just do two more questions for yourself, Chukwundi, and yourself. And then I'll open it up for the team to ask you the rest. I think for me, again, the guys here are learning a lot, and I think practicality for them is how do they actually make a chapter successful? So what would you say if you were in the seat? And I think it's very ironic that I have to ask you that. But what would be the one thing that you think makes a chapter win or it makes a team win? Because if you're a leader, what exactly helps you make sure that you achieve your goal? Two things that you think they can focus on in a year that will put them in a good position to win.
Okay. I always believe in starting at home, right? So if, let's say, I'm a second-year engineering student, right? I've now spent first year in this campus, in this area. I'd say, number one, I'd just find out what are the problems where we are. And not on campus. I think I would just say what this little community that this campus is plonked in, what are the problems that they have, right? Because I think everyone is focused on fixing the issues on campus, but what neighborhood, what's happening? I'd start there and just find out what problems are there, or what problems do the academics that are working in the communities, what problems do they have? And then say, how can I help there? I think I find the best way to find solutions that are worth developing is the people who are already invested in some place can tell you better what needs to be fixed. So meaning if in the community there's non-profits or community facilities that are actually helping people, I would go and ask them, if you had young people, what would you want them to do for you? And then develop my first project, just simply on solving the problems that the people who are already in the community know they have, right? If I'm a chapter. And then after that, sure, I'd go to my faculty and find out where's the marketing department and tell them, guys, I'm going to the community. They've asked us to come do this. They've told us I'm going there with 10 students and we're going to be doing this, this, and this. Why? Universities have marketing budgets. I don't have a marketing budget, but I'm part of the university. And if I tell them, actually, guys, we're going to do this. We're going to do this on behalf of you. So you're welcome to come and tell our story. Why? Because I'd want my story on their platforms, because everybody's following the platforms of the university I belong to. And number two, if somebody sees that I'm working on something that's recognized by my university, they're going to take me seriously next time. So I'd start off with a project that's dealing with something small, something that somebody else has told me it's really a valuable thing to solve. Get the people who already have the funds and the opportunities to help me out. So meaning I'd speak to, if many times the community has the money, they just don't have the people to do the thing, I'd come with it. I'd come with my skill set, whatever skill set it is. If not, then I'd then go knocking on the doors of somebody who I know can help with whatever and piece together those funders or whatever. But the main thing I'd say is I'd leverage visibility that's easy for me to access, which is my university for you guys. And then number two, I'd also see these people that I'm helping, do they have a visible platform? Which I've found in my experience as EWBs, actually many of those places have more visibility than we think. And then what else would I do? I'd find 5 people, if not 3 people, and I'm like, guys, let us do it. I wouldn't try and get 100 people in my first committee, no. Just 3 to 5 people who understand what I want to do. And then let's do it. And then let's document it. And then afterwards, whoever's the one who loves to talk, go telling the whole world what we just did. And tell people just how good we were at what we just did. So that wherever we go, we have a story that each and every one of us knows how to tell. That one project we did so well. And I think once you're known to be able to deliver one thing, people will trust you to deliver something else. I think that's mine.
Yeah.
And for your question, I would say it's likely because you have a view of a city,
Yes.
which for us is a much bigger problem to solve. What would you say is the one thing that you lean on as a leader to make sure that there's actual change? And at that level, what does actual impact look like for you, and how do you measure that? If you say I'm successful in this, how do you measure that and reconcile it?
Yeah, and maybe let me start by saying, you know, when we talk about passion is that thing that puts a smile on your face. You know that thing that you do and it puts a smile on your face? That's your passion. Sometimes we want to come up with very complicated definition about passion. And secondly, you ask about opportunity. Listen to your gut. You know that we always talk about gut feel? Listen to your gut. Simple. You know sometimes you come across something and then your gut says, don't go there. Listen to your gut. And the third thing I will say is that with opportunity does not mean that you have to take all opportunities. So I was telling you that I left De Beers after 25 years, and when I stepped out, I had quite a lot of approaches in other corporates wanting me to join it. But I was steadfast that that's not what I wanted to do. So it doesn't mean that every opportunity that gets placed in front of you, you really need to jump to and do it. Be true to yourself and know what you want and know where you want to go and set your mind to. So I think I just wanted to give you those simple things about how I see things from my perspective about passion and opportunities. And what I have learned. You know, impact is quite a huge thing. It's a very complex thing, and quite interesting enough. That's you know, my Josie is 2.5 years old. 2.5, and we've done so much. And the reason why we've done so much, you see here, it's written Geshido. Geshido is very simple. It means get shit done. So when we started, we obviously did quite a lot of engagements with stakeholders, government, communities to understand what we needed to do. But the one thing we were sure about is that whatever we are going to do, we are not going to waste time. So I see you got Standard Bank there. Standard Bank is our partner. Wits University is our partner. Actually, Wits University is our founding partner with Anglo American. UJ is our partner. So, actually all of the major banks in South Africa are partners. We've got 140 companies that are part of the Jozi Majozi network. So, for example, if there is something that we want to do in supporting government to fix in the inner city, we go there, we talk to government around what they are doing and where the gaps are. And then we go and then raise money to close those gaps in terms of fixing infrastructure, for example. So that's how we operate. But we leverage our partners in terms of the work that we're doing. The one thing that we've always said to our partners is that we are not going to be slow like government, because if we do that, we are really not going to drive the change that is required to deliver the work on the ground. So we hit the ground running. We get shadowed. And what we realized late last year was that we met with our corporate partners and they started telling us about impact. And we said, okay, we know about impact, but we were not focused particularly on that. One of the biggest things for us which actually demonstrate to us impact is delivery of programs. Our programs have been delivered, they are visible, such as the Nelson Mandela Bridge. We fixed it with ABSA. The traffic lights that are working within the inner city of Johannesburg, we are working with Standard Bank, with FNB, with ABSA to make sure that those traffic lights, they work. So the work that we're doing is actually focused on us pointing to the infrastructure that we have actually fixed. And secondly, is about getting feedback from the people who will tell us that the work that we're doing is right and is serving them. For example, we are putting solar street lights within the inner city. Johannesburg, Maboning was very, very dark because a lot of the copper cables were stolen from those lights. What we have done is that we have gone out, we have sourced solar street lights, and then we are installing them within the inner city. Right now, the problem that we have is that now a lot of businesses are coming to us and say, we want solar street lights in our streets because they have seen what has happened on the other side. And we are rolling them out in South Africa, in Johannesburg, which is fantastic. And that is the impact that we are seeing. Now we come to your point where now we are sitting down and really coming up with a monitoring and evaluation model. And obviously we're working with our partner. And obviously now that model is going to be formalized in terms of looking at our KRAs, our deliverables, and obviously the impact that is doing on the ground and the beneficiaries thereof. So we are building that model. But for right now, our impact has been those projects we've delivered. One thing that we said as Jozi Majozi is that we are going to do story doing. You know, other people do storytelling. We do story doing because we realize that a lot of people, when you talk to them, they'll tell you that they don't want anything to do with anything, to fix anything within their city, their streets, because that is government's work. And we said to them, no, but we, as citizens, we have a right. It does not only end when we vote. We need to take accountability to change our spaces and to do that. And that's what we have done. And I think for us, it's quite important that actually we get a lot of young people involved in the work that we're doing. Because for us, I think that's where the impact is. And we're going to continue doing it. And we're going to continue implementing those projects. And yes, because of our partners and stuff like that, we are going to do that M&E model and finalize it and report on it. But for us, really, it's about really showing tangible change so that people can see the story. They can see the story that now 100 solar streetlights have been actually installed in Johannesburg. The Nelson Mandela Bridge was unsafe. Students from West University didn't even use that bridge between the inner city Bree Street into Bramfontein because it was dangerous. Now they're using it because it has been fixed. Now that is impact.
Yeah, 100%. Well done. I think it deserves a bit of hands there. Thank you for that. So I think, Takalani, just in closing, then I'll open up for the team. I think we'll give it 20 minutes for questions and answers, and then we can all go to dinner. For me, just from your aspect, I know I read your whole bio. I just want to ask the one thing that you would say, this is the one thing that still drives my passion, or this is the one thing that drives me to still keep pushing and want to make a change that I'm doing.
I think because I'm in different subsectors. I'm in ethics and looking at the youth and those that are in high school and university. I think for me, the young. So the young is from 8 years old up until 35. So I'm technically still young. So that's the reason why I still want to focus on the young is South Africa is big and we all have different stories. My story may seem okay, but there are so many young people that have not had access to certain information, access to opportunities. We have access and we have an opportunity to give back. And for as long as we still have majority of our youth being unemployed, coming from poor communities, and not having access to information, even in primary school or even high school, for as long as that still exists, my passion still goes. And it's because we are competing with the world out there. And actually, South Africa is quite different. We're very smart. We're absolutely smart. We just don't know it. And all it takes is an opportunity, as everyone has been sharing about. It's an opportunity, it's access to something. And wherever we can make it work, we'll definitely do it. So I always think of that. I remember we were having a discussion regarding one of the Dream STEM events that we were hosting here in Soweto. And so some of the sponsors, you're trying to see where you can select a venue. You're looking for venues. You're looking for sponsorship for venues, and they're like, the kids can get picked up in town. And I said, how do they get to town? And they're like, they just climb a taxi. I'm like, with what money? And that then drove that question to say, you can get to town, other people can't. Other people's money is looking at buying bread, buying milk, and us having the opportunity to actually get those kids closer to an opportunity and get access to something is what we strive for. And that's what makes me still wake up and do STEM initiatives and make a big change. But lastly, I think when we invest in the youth, it's exponential. The growth is exponential. I've got a lot of mentees under me. They come back to me. They're like, I've moved on. I'm higher. I'm earning more than you. I've got this. I've got that. And people think that makes me sad, but that makes me happy because it means that whatever seed I planted has grown, and they will do the same to the next person. And I always tell them, like, whatever I teach you, whatever I help you with, please share with the next person and make sure that another person can also benefit from this.
Thank you so much. All right, so I'll take a couple of hands. I'll do the numbers. We can raise our hands, then we can start from the left to the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, you can start.
So my question is, on my side, my question is, on my side, I just started pursuing this leadership thingy. So I'm still looking for my footing, how I'm gonna approach my leadership role and finding my leadership style. So as you can see, I'm still nervous, but ever since I've gotten here, like, I've grown. I would say I was inspired by my fellow leaders in the room. So my question is, how did you guys find your footing, finding your leadership style?
Sorry, can I ask you your name and what university you're from?
Oh, my name is Neo, and I'm from the Northwest University.
I'll just open anyone who wants.
All right. Who's next? Or do you answer first?
Yeah, we can answer.
Actually, my response is very simple. What you've just done there, that's leadership. Remember, you said you are very nervous. You are unsure. You are still new. but you took the initiative to raise your hand. You know how many people actually have the courage in a group of people like this to raise their hand and put their question forward? And you do it once, you do it twice, you see, actually, it's not that painful. You do it again. So that's what it is. Clever people, they'd call it getting out of your comfort zone. Okay? That's my simple answer. Keep on doing what you're doing, you'll be amazed.
How many questions are we allowed to ask?
Just one.
Only one. I've got one for every one of you.
You know what you can do? If you're willing to stay for dinner, then you can ask the other one.
Okay, sure. I don't know who to ask now. This goes to, okay, first of all, lovely to meet all of you. My name is Tyra. I'm from the UKZN chapter. I am vice chair. So this question goes to, forgive me if I do mispronounce your names. This question goes to Mr. Innocent Mabusela, if that's correct. So you spoke about starting stuff from scratch. That whole academy, you started from scratch. So as you know, there are some starting chapters. Is there any wisdom and knowledge that you can impart to them on how to get things going and starting up? Yeah, thank you.
So for me, there's two important things, and I think it goes back to the question you are asking about team. There's two things for me I've learned and seen they work. First of all, as a team or when you're driving a project, make sure everybody understand where you are going and how you're gonna get there. Simple. Once people understand why we're doing this project and the things that we need to do to get there, everything, because then everybody becomes focused in terms of what needs to be happen, what they need to deliver, and where all of us are going. The second thing is that, you know, and I'll use the example of the project on beneficiation. I knew that there were people who were more clever than me, and people who knew about those other things, such as, you know, accreditation, such as curriculum. And I leaned on them. And not necessarily that all those people were within De Beers. Those people were also outside. I went out there and looked for people who understood and make inroads with them. So for you as a team like this, if you know where you're going, if you know the things that you need to do to get there, you need to leverage each other's strength. That is so important because within the group, you bring different things. I think one of the panelists here mentioned that, you know, those who can, or I think it was you, those who can go and talk, they must go out there and talk. Because then you realize that not all of us actually in this group necessarily have to be chairperson. People who are good in finances, who look at finances, that people who are very good in terms of networking, allow each member to explore their talents and their skills. Then you will succeed. Because when you as a collective try to do something, but other people are pushed down, that's where everything falls off.
Thank you for that. Number 3.
Hello everyone. My name is Kamvelihle Alex Ngane, and I'm from the University of KwaZulu-Natal. My question to you guys is, when does patient become smarter than ambition as an engineer, a person, and a leader?
Extending this one out.
So,
Okay, how did I repeat? Okay. Look, I think I'm just gonna answer the best way I understand it, right? So, yeah, sometimes you're excited, you're doing something, right? You're doing something, you think it's gonna make a great impact, and it start growing beyond what you can do. So I think the biggest thing, right, is that, okay, if you're ambitious, I think it's all about understanding what you're doing, number one, right? Yes, passion will fade away sometimes, you know. you will feel like this thing is overwhelming me, I'm leaving it, you understand? So you'll have ambition, like ambition is like the drive to grow and on and on and on and on with it. But sometimes that thing goes away. Or sometimes this thing just takes you away from what you need to be doing because of certain things. I'll give you an example. When I was in varsity, right, I used to run a cooking company. I was studying engineering, I was running a cooking company. I was passionate, I was ambitious about it, right? It used to be called Varsity Chef, right? I used to teach people how to cook. I'm like, you cook healthy food as a student. You know, like when you go to varsity, right? At home, I wasn't cooking, I was a boy. They were cooking for me, I was eating the pap. I mean, you understand? But I was ambitious, I was now grown this ambition at varsity, I want to do this thing. But, man, I just sit down and look at it. This thing is not working. I'm struggling at school because of this thing. You understand? Yes, I'm passionate about it. I have ambition. I want it to grow. Yes, I'm a leader. I have people that have joined me now. They're doing this thing with me. But this thing, it's not working. You know. So you kind of like from my experience, right, where I had the passion and the ambition for doing something as a leader, I was like, guys, this thing is not working. I think we need to close down. You know, and I had to accept that this thing is not working for me right now, you know? And yeah, we just took a step back, you know? But in that case, the learnings that I learned in that thing helped me to build the next, you understand, the next unicorn that I'm working on, you understand? But the lesson, so that's sometimes, you know, like you can be working towards something and it doesn't work the way you want it to work. But let's maybe also pivot this discussion within the organizational structure. Let's take, for example, you're working within your organization, you're passionate about a specific field, you know, but you're also capable of doing another field, you understand? So, but you need to see, as a leader, you need to kind of like allow that, okay, cool, I'm passionate about this, but I'm also capable of doing this. But I see there's someone who can do a certain thing that I'm passionate about, but I can do that person can't do the other thing, you know? So you need to shift, you know, and then do what you can do to propel the organization forward, more than just doing what you're passionate about and ambitious about, you know. And because all these words, like, yeah, they are quite cool words, but it's all at the end of the day, you need to get shit done, like he said, right? So it's not about what you do. Like, okay, I'm gonna tell you a bit of my experience at Walmart, right? So I just joined this month, right? I'm a data scientist. I do data science, I do data engineering, I do data analytics, I do all three. Depends where you wanna put me, right? So like in a team, I work in the CRM, customer relationship management. I don't care, like, yeah, I'm a data scientist. It's not about my position name. I just do what needs to get done in order for our team in order for the work that needs to be done by our team to get done, you understand? So passion and all these like fancy words, they don't work in leadership, unfortunately. You understand? For me personally, they don't work in like that much, because you can be passionate about something, but the business needs something else, or the leadership needs something else. Let's say you're passionate about working on your accounting books, but now you're needed to go and talk towards it, like he said, talk to someone in the ground so that you can have access to the community. You understand? So even if he's not passionate about talking to people, he's passionate about working in the background, ambition and passion does not apply a lot. You understand? So you need to just be willing to see progress. I think the biggest thing that you can think about as EWB, you need to think about progress. What is the progress that we're making? You understand? Beyond just the passion, right? You need to measure. I always think about these three things: effort plus direction gives you progress. So you look at those three words, right? What is the effort, and what is the direction? Passion. You'll have passion today. Tomorrow you don't have passion. You know, it fades away. It comes as you progress. Passion start to build. You understand? When I started building Brightland, guys, you know, it was crazy, because like I'm working on this thing alone. I don't know. I remember at the time when I started building this thing, I was in debt, guys. I was in debt. Like, you understand? I'm passionate about teaching, but I don't have ambition. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm in debt. Things are not going well for me. You understand? There's no passion there. Now I have to do this, because if I don't do it, I'm gonna get arrested for my debt. You understand? So you say it's not passion here now. You understand? Now you have to do it because you have to do it. You understand? And then now that I started doing it, I started seeing progress. I started seeing the numbers growing. I started making impact. You know, seeing people join my classes, get employed. Someone is starting on the 1st of Feb. They're starting a new job now. You understand? Seeing that effort, seeing that progress, that's when the passion started growing. Oh, actually what I'm doing, it's making an impact to someone's life. then the ambition grows. Then, you understand, I don't know if I'm answering you, but I just wanted to touch based on my perspective of passion and ambition, you know. You get those passion and ambition as you see progress. So make effort, like he said, right? You need to have direction. Have direction first. Think about it whenever you do something. Think about it before you start a journey on Uber. What do? What's the first thing that you do? You put a location, right? So even if before you lead your chapter, you need to put what is the direction for this year, 2026, in your chapter. What is the direction? What are we taking? What do we want to achieve? What is our goals? What is our targets? You understand? That you set the direction. And then what's the next thing? You get in the car and you drive to that destination. That's when you start working on the things that you want to achieve. And that then comes on your daily doings, your monthly reviews. What are you doing every month? What are you progressing? Then, as you see progress, the passion, you love this thing. University just posted us on their student portal. Oh, university just posted us on their website. You understand? When you start seeing progress, your passion will skyrocket out of the roof. You know? I started having passion for teaching when I started seeing the money. Like, you know, when I paid all of my debt and then I started seeing the money, I'm like, man, you know,
Okay, who's next?
He was the fourth.
Who was the fourth?
So can I ask it this way? I see we have about 5 minutes. Can I ask the next 3 questions? You guys can say your questions, all 3, then we can assign them to each one to answer each one of your questions. It can be a direct question or it can be a general question. Does that make sense? So we'll take the next 3 questions together as one. Yeah. And then they'll answer, and then we'll take the last 3 questions so that we can cover that.
Okay. Good afternoon. Good evening. I only get one question, so I'm going to phrase it in the way that I wanted it. But, you know, Mr. Kalani, you spoke something alluding to the fact of how you position yourself and how you brand yourself earlier, right? And I'm sorry, I'm bad at names, I'm going to read them from here. To Mr. Rufio, you are big into technology and you're understanding data and whatever. So my question was on those 2 points of how do you leverage the current technology to brand yourself? And as a leader, what brand should you be building? What should it be alluding to? So when they come in, someone is looking at your LinkedIn profile, or they are looking at your Instagram, they are looking at what you speak when you stand on the podium. What brand and what identity will communicate that you're a leader? You're a leader that cares about sustainability, and you understand yourself, you understand what you stand for, your ethos. And to Mr. Rafiwa, how do we incorporate technology to include that? Yes, that's just the overall of the question. How do we incorporate technology? The name is Devotion Chiwasa, and I'm from Wits University.
Hello, so I'm Aidan from the Stellenbosch University chapter, and my question is, all of us in the next few years are going to go for job interviews, and we're going to be in a room of candidates, maybe 100 people. All the candidates are going to be equally qualified. How can we stand out if we're in a room of 100 other engineers? What do you guys think says to you this candidate is going to be better than the rest, even though they've all graduated with the same marks from the same university? What makes a certain candidate stand out? And that's for anyone who would like to answer.
Who was the last one?
Good afternoon. My name is Lihle Vilagati, and I'm from the NW student chapter. So my question is for Ms. Chikondi. So as someone from Eswatini, how do you establish yourself as a leader in a whole different space? Because it is very difficult to get access to many opportunities as someone who isn't from South Africa.
Great question. So I'll just remind us the questions. So the one is a branding question, and I'll give that to you, Takarani, which is how do you leverage your branding and communicate your leadership and positioning in the current atmosphere?
All right. So obviously we live in the age of technology. I think the first thing is to understand who your target market is. So there's you as a brand, and then there's who you need to show your brand to. And understanding your target market is to say, are you trying to appeal to an employer? Are you trying to appeal to sponsors? Are you trying to appeal to the youth? And once you know who your target market is, then you start analyzing which platforms they use. I'll make an example. People are like, oh, why don't you have a TikTok account? I'm not going to use TikTok. I'm seeking to approach organizations that are looking to fund initiatives that are making an impact. And not to say that they're not on TikTok, but how I need to be able to brand myself will be where they are. And they're predominantly on LinkedIn and probably on X as well. So once you understand who your target market is, then understanding where they are, then you look at how people are using those specific technologies. So as a leader, maybe I'll use my own experience to share myself as a leader. What I started doing is really getting to understand LinkedIn and what are the trends. Yes, there are trends. We don't like following trends, but there are trends and they work. And the trends are, okay, you are liking people's posts, you're commenting, and so on and so forth. You try and understand how you can put yourself in those specific trends. So as a leader, what do leaders do? You approach people, you compliment people, you repost initiatives that are aligned to who you are. So you're a leader of a chapter and you are interested in engineering. You reshare not just the core engineering posts or information, but you also reshare initiatives like Engineers Without Borders SA as well, and others as well. And you start engaging with them. You ask them questions to say, oh, where is this and how is it happening? And once you sort of start showing presence, people and the algorithm starts recognizing you to say, okay, you are doing something. And then that's where you have an opportunity to now post who you are and what you do. And it can start from anywhere. But as chapter leads, it starts with the events that you have. And not just the fun events. Some of the community engagements that you also do, you definitely have to start posting them and start showing them out there. But another thing that I've also seen also works is when you are outside and you are engaging with people in person, you still have to take them back to the platform. So I always go to conferences and I'll talk about LinkedIn. And I'm like, did you know that you can scan my QR code on LinkedIn? And they're like, oh, show me. Samar, they're going to follow me. So I'm then trying to show my leadership to say, I've already put myself out there. I'm learning about this platform. I'm trying to engage with you. Let me share some information with you. And then that's how they get to understand, oh, okay, she's a leader in this space because, she knows how to use the other parts of the technology. So I think just to round up my answer, it's about understanding who you're trying to target and getting your message out there for the type of leader that you are. As we've said, there are different types of leaders, there are different leadership styles, but you as a leader within engineering need to have those specific people and you need to speak their language. And for you to also understand that, there needs to be a bit of trends that you understand. It can get annoying. Because people are like, you wake up in the morning and someone will say it started with a grain of rice, 20 years ago. That trend works. It works. And it will change and it will fade away, and you just need to keep up with that. I think that's how you set yourself apart from a leader, apart from all the other platforms you can use. But if your target market is on TikTok as well, look at what they're doing on TikTok. Some of our student chapters within SciC would do small little challenges that bring the team together or show who the team is. And you say, okay, we need to show University of Stellenbosch who we are. So this is our committee, and let's do it in a fun way because it's already going to be in line with the trends. It'll go out there, but it'll set you apart from all other committees that are doing normal things. Yeah, I think those are just some few examples.
Thank you so much. And then the second question was from Aiden, and I think you can take it because maybe you've seen a lot of candidates in your career. He's just asking, and everyone who's going to apply for work and get interviews, how do they make sure that you stand out? What are some of the things that you've identified?
I think the first thing you always need to remember is that human beings are social beings. We are very social. You know, when you get into a room, look confident. And when I say look, I know that some people, it's very difficult for them to look confident. I think the example that you did earlier on, what was we doing? Look confident and comfortable. And distinguish between confidence and arrogance, okay? Be comfortable and confident. The second thing is that don't waffle. I mean, you know, sometimes when you're doing interview and you ask a person a question and then they talk for 25 minutes, do not waffle. Understand the question and answer it very succinctly, giving examples. Okay? So if you say, I'm a good swimmer, you need to tell us why do you say you are a good swimmer. Okay? The other thing, I think what is important is that show delivery. And this is where this is important, is that you guys are a part of the student chapter. What are you doing things that you're delivering on? Because organizations want people who deliver. You know, the biggest challenge now in companies is that we get people who interview very well. They interview excellently. And you employ them. Within the first 2 weeks, you regret it because you realize that they talk a good game, but they don't deliver. So show delivery. And the final important thing, demonstrate to people that you are a multifaceted individual. You know, don't say, for example, organizations don't like a person who went to school, went to varsity, graduated, looking for a job. Get involved in your communities. Do exciting stuff. Have hobbies. So be a multifaceted person, because when you can demonstrate that you are a multifaceted person, it demonstrates that actually you can deal with complexity. So remember those simple things. That for me is what I've recognized, is that first of all, be confident, be succinct, demonstrate delivery, and show that you are a multifaceted person. So those for me, I think are quite important. I just wanted to touch on this thing of leadership. You know, leadership is a very difficult one. You know, because I think sometimes when we think about leadership, we think leadership is something that you grow into. I believe, and I have seen, you know, that there are people who are driven, who are just doing and these two individuals have demonstrated that in terms of their examples. There are people who are just not content with sitting down. They go out there, they knock on the door. If the door doesn't open, they go through the window. So sometimes we think that, you know, leadership, that's why I'm saying try and distinguish between leadership and management. Those things are very different. Management, yes, you learn, okay, these are the KRAs. When somebody asks for leave, this is what we do. No, we're not there. We're talking about people who take initiatives, who are driven, because some people are leaders and they can be in the lower levels of the organization, but doing quite a huge change where they are. So leadership is, for me, is about behavior. And you see people who come into a room, they don't know anybody, but within 10 minutes, they know everybody. They are the ones who are fixing the lights. They are the ones, you know, there are people like that. And that's, for me, is what I can say about a good demonstration of what leadership is about.
Thank you so much. Chikonde, there one question from Leslie was, I guess, how do you establish yourself, especially professionally, when you're not from the country of origin? How do you make sure you come out?
Sure. So many elements, but I think it speaks to the knock on every door and find out which window has an opening that allows you in. I think for me, what I did was I understood that I may not have the easy way in. I may not find myself in a big corporate easily because I don't fit the spec, right? But I can be in other platforms that want anyone with my profession, irrespective of my background. And I said to myself, I'm not going to be a victim. The white Afrikaner guy is the same as me on the scale of access to, you know, special, you know, initiatives and opportunities, right? And he's not crying. He has privilege. I have privilege. I have privilege that I can share with my fellow people. When I came into SA, one thing I found with my fellow classmates was I didn't cower in the presence of our academics who were white. And I don't want to be mean, but I didn't cower in the presence of my white academics because I didn't have a history that hurt. So when very sensitive topics came up, I could speak for my fellow Africans without having the emotion. And then I could be a bridge between this side and this side. So what I always found was, don't be a victim. Actually say, how can I bring value? And everywhere I found there was something I could bring value because of my unique background. When I came into finishing the degree, etc., there's some, everyone's got their equivalent of their voluntary association. There wasn't any young people in their, spaces that be, because there was a lot of historical, segregation. The young people looked a certain color. The organization looked a certain color. There was no room for them. I came in, and because I didn't have hostility or pain, I could come in and be some neutral person that I could actually be the person who speaks to the people who are afraid, because I actually learned that the people on the other side are afraid of the people on this side because they know what they've done wrong. And I had to come in and say, I'm neutral, but I'm holding the hands of these guys. I hope you know that when I come in, I'm coming in with them. But start with me, let's try it out, right? So when you are foreign, find what value can you bring in a place, and also appreciate and acknowledge the people who you find. I'm from multiple countries. My grandmother's from Mozambique. My maternal grandmother's from Mozambique. My paternal grandmother, Umzulu. My mother's dad is from Malawi. My husband's from Zimbabwe. I grew up in Swaziland. I have a child who's from Zambia. I am that person, right? So what it has done for me is anytime I'm in this different country, I say, honor the people that are here. Honor the ways that they do things, and then listen. Where is there a gap that a person who's not from here can see things differently? So my mom, she develops, what do you call this? Business. She's a business development person. She helps farmers and stuff turn into big shot farms instead of subsistent farmers. And one of the things I watched her do is now what I do wherever I go. When you get into a place, understand the culture. And then honor the culture, and then work within the culture. Don't be coming and trying to bring Swaziland to South Africa. This is South Africa. Honor South Africans, honor their culture, and then work with them. Work with them to bridge the gaps that only a foreigner can see. Because when you're coming into a place, or let's say we're all in this room right now, if somebody steps in from outside, they'll be like, this place is stuffy. But we can't feel it because we've been here for so long, right? So come in and accept and embrace what you bring that's unique, and then bring the solution. I'll bring the fan because I know it's stuffy, but nobody else can see it's stuffy because they've been in. But the biggest thing is, wherever you go, whatever place you're in, bring value. I volunteered my time in places that ended up getting me jobs. All the jobs I've had was because I said, where I am, I'm going to bring value. I deliver projects. I would speak on behalf of communities, say, the livestock farmers want to own their own tannery. It's never been done before. Who are you? Why? These are small-scale farmers. I'm not South African, yes, but I can connect. I can still choose to say, let me understand their voice and speak for them, because I enter into a room where none of them are there. I'm there. There were no South African black people in the room. I was the only person in the room. But I said, because I'm here, I'll choose to bring value to the people of here. And if anyone can see that, yes, she's foreign, but she brings value to us, you become one of them. You no longer a foreign person. Yes, I've got an unusual name, but nobody cares about it anymore, because I've brought the irrigation schemes, I've brought the tanneries, I've brought all of these things. The communities have water, they didn't have water. When I arrive, and they don't care anymore that she's from Eswazini, she's not. Did you bring value? Always bring value wherever you are. Then it doesn't matter where you come from. And when you bring value, don't become arrogant. Be humble. Yeah.
interest of time and also inclusion, there's 3 more questions. Maybe we can do the questions and I'll ask us to just take 30 seconds answering them. I know this is so much fun.
30 seconds.
30 seconds.
30 seconds.
We'll try your best. So, 3 questions? There were 3 hands, right?
What was the question?
You didn't answer his
Oh, his question.
Oh, you still had a question?
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you had a question?
Oh, yeah.
Or is it that? Okay. Okay, well, let's take the two more questions.
Who's the first? Warren.
Varun and then-
Awesome. Can I go? All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for availing yourself at SLR 2026. So since my colleague's question did not get answered, the second one, because we only afforded 1 question, I will ask something along those lines to Rofhiwa, right? So to set up my question, I'm just going to let you guys know that this year's theme is actually data, right? It's centered around data, and we know that Rofhiwa has a long history of data from his VAC experience with ESCOM all the way to being a data analyst today. One question that we have for you, Mr. Rofhiwa, is that since we all are managing chapters, how can we use data in order for us to measure the impact in which we have? Because I can imagine, as someone who's running a tutoring company, you have some sort of way of measuring the students' performance, learning outcomes as well, and not just grades, right? So could you guide us a little bit on how we could use data to also measure the sort of impact that we have on communities?
Great. That's one question. Fatima, you can take the second question. Thank you, Warren. Otherwise, we don't want to eat.
Hi, I'm Fatima Zahra. I'm from the VIDS chapter. My question is, what is something you failed at and overcame, or what is something that was the hardest thing that you had to overcome?
Another great question. I'll give the first question to yourself and then maybe you can take it up.
All right. So who's taking it?
No, the first one is Rofhiwa.
All right.
Very direct.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I think with data, right? So of course the way we do data in our world is it's crazy, right? I'll tell you how we do it. Quick. 30 seconds. I can't speak about data for 30 seconds. Okay, I think number one, create a system like, for example, Google Forms, where whenever you do something, get reviews, for example, and then you can build like a Gen AI model that helps you to classify the reviews, or what is called CSAT. We call it CSAT in the world of work, where you classify each and every review. For example, let's say you did some project with a group with your team, and then everyone you guys get like anonymous reviews from the team. How was the project? How you guys feel, and all those kind of stuff. And then they kind of write the feedback, and then you sort of like classify each and every feedback. You know, is it what is it? Is it neutral? Is it good? What are any issues that were there, right? That's how you use data. So you need to kind of like, data, you can use it without collecting it. So you need to first establish a way to collect your data, then you can be able to do something with the data. You understand? Yeah, so that's the first thing, right? How can you collect data? For example, Google Forms, it's one easy tool that you guys can learn and be able to collect any data. Whenever people are registering, you then create a Google form, and then once you create a Google form, as everyone fills the form, it gives you like a Google Sheets, right? It stores the data in Google Sheets, and then you can start wrangling that data within Google Sheets, and then see, okay, how many people are female, how many people are male, you understand? And then how many people are, which engineering faculty are they in, those kind of stuff. So first play around with that kind of data, see what you can do with it, and then, okay, cool, how many people are interested in internal projects and how many people are interested in external projects. Kind of like get those kind of basic data first, get it right, and then, but to be able to collect data or use data in this age, you need to sort of like digitalize everything. Don't have forms that are in a paper and then you go print. Who's gonna go print? No. Make everything available online. Go on ChatGPT and say, okay, I want to create a simple website for our university chapter. It will probably build it for you in seconds, right? There's an app called Lovable. It can just develop a website for you. There's web builders now. Create that website, interact with it, and then there's something called Google Analytics. You can connect your website to Google Analytics, and then it does then orchestrate how many people are visiting your website in every month. Give you the stats, give you the analytics, how many people are male, how many people are in Joburg, how many people are in Cape Town, and all this kind of stuff. So it's all about leveraging what's out there. And this stuff is not complex. It's just about of like, how to, the Google, just always Google how to. Whenever you think of an idea, how to. Like I'm smart by Google. Like if Google switch off, I'm done. Because everything that I know in the world of data, Google. Google, yeah. So that's,
Thank you so much. I think you took way more than 30 seconds.
No,
but thank you, I appreciate it. That's why I let it.
Time is relative.
Exactly. The last question.
Oh, biggest failure.
Yeah, the biggest failure.
I think my biggest failure was not being able to register as a professional. I did try. And everyone was like, oh, why couldn't you register? But, I mean, looking at what the requirements were, I just need to go back and get more design experience. I'm a project manager at heart. How did I deal with it? I went back into the industry and I said, okay, I need help. I think asking for help is the best thing you can do. And asking for help, understanding that you can only get better from there on, and accepting whatever failures that you've gone through is also what's going to help you. It's not nice. It's always great to also have a friend who can be your accountability partner. You can vent to that person as much as possible, but always allow yourself to see the future. They always say that failure is proof that you've tried. Yep. So never look down on the fact that you actually tried anything. Keep on pushing, have faith, and continue building from that.
Wow. Big round of applause, guys. Thank you so much. I think we've come to the end of the session. I want to thank all of our guests so much, and Kenelo will give you guys a few words of thanks, and then after that we can go and have some dinner.